So after the many modifications and repainting of some of the parts of the kit, here is the finished Dragon Gundam with all of my modifications that I've done to it. So now it has a much better hip joint which can go forward and back and almost do the splits if the side skirts are not on the way. So yeah, and it also now has a much, I would say, a bit of a improvement on the knee joint, because in the original kit the knee was already good, so I just made it look much better and move much better than the original knee joint, and also having a peg hip joint instead of the old ball joint hips. And also the foot has a much better range of motion, so it can go up more and down more, side to side more, and also rotate almost the same rotation, but it's much better than the old range of motion on the ankles. So that's the lower body, and it now has a spinning or a rotating waist instead of just a fixed post waist connected onto the back skirt here. And then the arms are now on ball joints from the body, which can now move forward and back, and also up and down on its own, and also rotate all the way around. And also the arms can now go up further, and with the ball joint all together they can move further up now, unlike before on the old kit. And it now has a bicep swivel and a double uh, double bend on the elbows, so as you can see here. And it also now has a high grade hand instead of the old polycap hands. The neck was also extended upwards, so it now has much prominent neck than the old polycap, which is close to the collar here. And I also adjusted the yellow part on the head. I moved it back more and I squished it closer to the face, because in the original kit the mask here is very far away from the face and the head, and there's a huge gap in between the face here and the yellow part. So I just fixed it, so now it looks much better than the original head. And the ponytail can now uh, pass through the spikes on the shoulders or on the core lander. So that's the improvements that I did for this kit. I'll be showing the full modifications and improvement on the kit during its initial review, so look forward to that. And the reason why it took so long to modify this kit is because I was doing another modification on two other kits from this line as well. So here's the Dragon, and here's the Bolt Gundam. So originally the Bolt is the most, I would say, bad kit from the line, because it doesn't have any waist articulation, no bicep articulation. It can only go out in and out on the shoulder like that, and that's it. And also the legs are bad, especially in the ankles. So I tried to modify it. So I gave it waist articulation, but due to the design of the stomach piece here, in between the middle piece of the crotch, it cannot rotate very long or very far because of that design. So I just made it like that, but I still separated the torso from the waist area here. As for the arm, I didn't change the peg here from a peg to a ball joint, because the bolt isn't very posable in the anime because it's a bulky boy, so I decided to just retain the peg here. But instead, what I did is I carved out the whole area here of the shoulder. As you can see here. And then I inserted a polycap because there's already a polycap inside, and then I just change it into a longer polycap so that it can accommodate the new bicep area here. So you can see my camera will focus on it. Come on, there we go. So the polycap is now orientated down for the arms, and then I glued a hole here on the shoulder so that it can still connect on the body. So now it now has a much better range of motion on the arm instead of relying on the shoulder to move the arm itself. So now it can move further. Oops, sorry. So now it can move further out, like so. If you move the gauntlet out of the way, it can move further out now without the shoulder moving. And then it now has also a bicep swivel and a double jointed elbow. So as you can see here, and also it now has a high grade hand. The ball here on the shoulder I glued in place because I needed to remove the connector piece for the ball here inside so that it can move further on the arm. So I just glued it in place, and the bolt will not use it on this configuration anyways. I have the upgrade kit, so it has a much better ball for the ball and chain attack that it does. So that's why I just glued the ball onto the shoulder. So that's the modification for the arm. And then for the legs, I did the same as the other kits that I modified. So I changed the ball joint into a peg. I used a freedom knee joint and thigh area here for the waist or the hip articulation. So if you remove the side and front skirts, it can move further up on the legs and then out, do the splits, and it also now has a much better knee bend, because in the original kit you can only bend about that far on the original polycap knee. So it's a much better improvement on the knee here. And the ankles, what I did is it's still the same ankle joint as the original kit, but I just carved out some areas here so that it can move in and out much further than it's used to be. So that's the Bolt Gundam. It's just a bit loose on the peg here. Just fix him up and show you the third kit that I modified for this line. So that's the Bolt Gundam. And the last kit that I modified for this line is the Spiegel, or the Shadow Gundam. And as you can see, I extended the torso and separated the waist from the torso again, just like the Bolt and the Dragon. For some reason, these three kits have, or all of them except for the Shining, God, and Rising Gundams, they don't have any separate waist and chest areas, but they have the polycap inside, so I don't know why they didn't give them a much better waist articulation and separate waist and chest area. So that's why I separated them, and I also added some plates here on the lower chest so that can be extended up so that the chest would look longer. And then for the arms, I did the same modifications on the Dragon Gundam to this kit. So it now has ball joints on the shoulder here, and it has a separate bicep area and double jointed elbows. The wrists are the same polycaps because the Shadow doesn't have any dynamic poses on it or anything that's handheld as a weapon, so I decided to just keep the polycap hands. And then for the waist area, I did the same as the other two. So I changed the ball joint into a peg joint, and then I used another core Gundam for the thigh area here, as well as on the elbow joint here. I also used the core Gundam, I think core Gundam 2, so that it has a much better articulation on both the elbows and on the knees. So it can now do the splits, although it's a bit stiff on this version, but it can do it, and it has a much better knee articulation than the previous polycap joint. And then the angles are the same, they're still the same ball joint. So yeah, so it's a good improvement on the previous articulation of the old kits. So those are the modifications or modified kits that I did together with the Dragon Gundam. So I did 3 modifications for a span of at least a month. So yeah, I am thinking of not modifying the Maxter and the Rose, because I already got the high grade P Bandai version of the Maxter, and I'm currently looking for a P Bandai version of the Rose Gundam. But I still tried to modify the Maxter. As you can see here, I modified the waist area, and I also separated the waist from the body. So this is already a old modified kit before the high grade was even announced. So I'm still thinking of continuing to modify the kit itself so that it can stand together with these guys, or I'll just use the high grade version together with the Rose. So yeah. So that's it, guys. Look forward to the review of these 3 kits, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.